Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Swarms of the Multiverse, offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms. Plus, you get instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing one of our books using the links in the video description. Before we dive into the new releases, let's talk about the exclusive discount from Splinterverse Media this week. It's for Mimic Mystery on the Furniture Farm, a comedic adventure for first to third level characters with this fun cover, and it's by Zoe Still. It's normally $3.95, but you're going to get 37% off of it for a limited time, so you want to make sure you click that link and take advantage of it before the discount is gone. It is 13 pages, and it says a mimic, some furniture, and a party of adventurers walk into a mystery. Last night there was a break-in at 𝘬𝙗 sentient furniture farm. Judging by the hole in the wall, it's a mimic, and it seems to have replaced one of the denizens of the farmhouse. Can your party figure out who the imposter is, or will the mimic strike again? Experience a goofy adventure perfect for beginners and veterans alike. Investigate an unconventional house full of unconventional characters. A 2 to 5 hour adventure for first to third level characters, and it's 13 pages of fun. It's got exploration, combat, and social intrigue, as well as memorable, weird NPCs, horrendous puns, and then there's also screen reader and printer-friendly versions, so that's really super helpful to have those options as well. So the full preview isn't working, but we can zoom in on the small preview here. Let's do that. The quick preview, I think they call these. So yeah, let's zoom in here. So you can see the adventure is separated into 3 different chapters plus a conclusion. And here you got the background. It says, the party comes to the house and discovers all the living furniture and 𝘬𝙫, along with Brendan and 𝘬𝙗. Brendan explains that they believe one of the denizens of the house has been replaced by a furniture mimic. The party will explore the house and the grounds around the ranch to gather clues. When the adventurers are satisfied with the information they have gathered, they can call everyone in the house to the living room where they can make an accusation. So kind of reminds me a little bit of Clue with that, sort of making an accusation, which could be fun. So in terms of adventure hooks, you've got quite a selection here, including a job opening. The adventurers notice a job listing on a message board at a tavern. The listing asks for adventurers to help solve a dispute with a mystery creature on the 𝘬𝙗 farm. The farm is located in the hills outside town. When asked, the bartender will laugh about the farm and refuse to tell the party why while struggling to keep a straight face. Because of course there's going to be some unusual characters that you meet there. So one of them is Charlotte the Chair. Charlotte is a chaotic, good, brash, outgoing chair. She's also a singer, but she is very self-conscious about it. She records songs in a room under the name Sheryl Crow, Sheryl Crow, I guess, sending them out to radio stations across the land, hoping one of them will play them on the radio and give her a path to stardom. Unfortunately, radios are mostly owned by wizards, making this more of a passion project for her than a source of profit. Charlotte sends love letters to Doris the Door, but neither of them have acted on this yet. Charlotte suspects Chuck because Chuck has been really antsy and won't say why. So you've got this whole cast of characters that your party's going to have to sort of sift through and figure out who's responsible, including Timmy the toilet. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else. So we've got chapter 1, chapter 2. I like how clean and easy to read this is. So you got a lot of information on Doris's room here, and then you get to accuse at the end, the gathering of suspects, and then the conclusion. And at the end, you have the stat blocks for Runkbed, Zarwatz, Marley the Mimic, and Brendan. So I think, mimics are always fun, right? So mixing them in with these characters is going to be even more comedic and fun, especially if you have a really fun group or a group that just wants a light adventure and doesn't want to get into the heavy, Ravenloft stuff, right? This could be a really, really fun time. So it says, as you walk up the hill, you see a big house with a few strange quirks. For one thing, there is a large wizard tower almost stapled to the side of the building. For another, the house is blue, but it seems as though a shade of blue shifts back and forth from a deep navy to a bird's egg blue. So even the outside of this house is weird, and you're going to find out more as you go inside. So speaking of that wizard's tower, it says, as you reach the top of the staircase, light dances across the floor, shed by orbs floating around the room. This looks to be a very private area, with clothes strewn around and a desk covered in bits and bobs. Zarwatz lies face down on the bed, sobbing into his pillow. So I think this is going to be fun for people to just sort of meander through this weird home and see what the truth is behind this mystery. I mean, there's so many weird characters. Even the outside of it looks really weird. So grab it before it's gone. We release these and they last about a week, so you want to make sure you get it. This one came out on Monday. We're releasing the video on Friday, so already some time has elapsed, so you want to make sure you jump in and grab your copy before the discount ends. Check it out. It's under the timestamp links, the very first one, Mimic Mystery on the Furniture Farm, or you can go to the pinned comment and look in the alphabetical list and find it under Mimic Mystery. Either way, give it a click and enjoy. Alright, our first new release is BX Game Options Volume 2. Has 7 Ranger class variations, the Apothecarist class, Pole Arms Expanded, Weapon Mastery, and more to augment your OSR games. This is from the Naughty Works, $3.99 for 26 pages, author John Buckley. And, you can never have enough stuff to really expand any rule system that you're working with, because sometimes you just played it so much, right, that it just gets repetitive, it gets stale. And BX has been around for a long, long time. I mean, I had some of the box sets when I was a kid. So these are really, really old systems that can use some refreshers. And so books like this are going to give you an opportunity to still play in the system that you love if you're a BX fan or an OSR fan, but get some new blood in there, right? And that can always lead to a fun session. So let's take a look inside. It has a heavy focus on weapons, including weapon mastery rules and a breakdown of over 24 types of pole arms. Several new classes are introduced, including 7 variations of the Ranger and the Pole Master, because you need a class that focuses on pole arms, many of these taking advantage of the weapon mastery rules. The Apothecarius is presented, providing a class that can be used for provided needing healing skills without relying on magic or divine intervention, and a system for providing characters the ability to raise ability scores by sacrificing experience points. So that's good as well. Looking through here, I love that the typeface is really similar and evocative of the BX books of days of yore. So really cool. And this is volume 2. So if you enjoyed this book, you might check out volume 1 as well. But so it talks about raising ability scores, and it gets into weapon mastery, bonuses to hit, all that stuff, dealing with nat 20s, armor specialization, double damage, extra attacks, two-handed weapon fighting, and then you get into the Apothecarist. So let's read a little bit about the Apothecarist. The belief that nature holds the source of all healing energies. The Apothecarist harvests the natural, medicinal, and magical properties of flora and other natural elements to produce potions, poultices, and salves that can be used to enhance the body's ability to heal itself, fight off infections and toxins, and even magical detriments over time. The apothecarist gains her skills both in study and practice, often being mentored by a senior apothecary or hedge witch to learn the properties of virtually every type of plant, flower, tree, and bush in the area and beyond, to understand how they can be used to be a benefit to those suffering from pain or illness. So very cool little concept. You could see that happening in a fantasy setting, that you would have an apothecarist, somebody who's dealing with natural remedies, etc., to help people. And it says at the first level, you can create 1d2 plus 1 healing salves and poultices per day, as long as you have the proper ingredients, the time, and the tools. So very cool. And then it shows you, the typical starting tables, and that's where we leave off on the preview, but there's more to the apothecarist. Let's read about the two-handed weapon fighting. This option may be chosen up to 3 times, and the character must choose a two-handed melee weapon for its effect. When fighting with the chosen weapon, the wielder with 1 additional attack with the other end of the weapon, typically using it to make a bludgeoning attack, though some specialty weapons may exist with a blade on each end. The primary attack with the weapon suffers a -2 penalty, while the other attack suffers a -5 penalty. The secondary attack causes 1d6 points of damage unless the weapon description explicitly states otherwise. Each additional time this option is chosen, the penalty for each attack is reduced by 1. So this gives you a whole rule set for having two-handed weapon fighting. Sometimes that can be lacking in systems. There's also two-weapon fighting, and sword and board, and stuns and subduals, and all kinds of combat rules in here. So if you play BX, you're going to want to look through this, see if it's going to work for you, and then give it a purchase. I mean, $3.99 for 26 pages is a really good price to give you some stuff to boost your BX experience. So check it out. It's in the video description links under BX Game Options 2. Give it a click. Next, we have Dungeon Vault Magazine 26 with contributions by Chucks, PJ England, AS Riel, and Kaboa team. And of course, it's from Elven Tower. This is part of their ongoing magazine series where they give you a compilation of adventures, lore, excellent cartography, and useful digital goodies. I think an issue comes out roughly once a month. And it's all about providing interesting ideas and lore to DMs and storytellers. So these are short modules, and they typically run from level 1 to 10. And I mean, it's only $5.95 for 47 pages to get tons and tons of adventures that you can use. So you get printer-friendly versions, you get an EPUB version, you get high-res and Roll20 versions of the maps. I mean, for the maps alone, I think $4.95 is worth it. I mean, we're scrolling through and seeing just some of the gorgeous maps in this particular issue. But it's always exciting to me when they release these, because I just feel like there's so much value. So you got level 4s, level 9s, 3s, 6s, 5s, a good mix of levels so that you can, and then some of them don't list levels. So, there may be others in here, but, that's a good mix of levels. So different tiers, you'll have something you can use for your players, and they're quick, little simple, one-shots, probably one and done, or maybe 2 sessions, and that can be really helpful, especially if you have people absent from your table. So the first one, the Urn of Darkness, is here. It's for level 4. Then you can see some of the maps here. You get to see 20 of the 24 pages, so quite a lot. I love that map, and imagine the reusability of that. I mean, it looks like it's floating in space, so you could even use it as like a Spelljammer map of, some sort of weird floating platform that you come across out in wild space. So again, $5.95 to get all these maps in high res and low res along with all this content is just a steal. And look at this. You've got some cool designs there, and other supporting artwork. Here's a cool little sawmill, it looks like. Definitely could use that. There's an adventure in the Feywild Companion you could use that map for sure. So lots of reusability with these maps. Black Angler Lighthouse. Love how it goes all these different levels with the lighthouse. Really, really cool stuff. The Deceitful Vendor. So this is a level 3. So let's just read about the setup. So it says the common folk place too much trust in so-called experts and charismatic leaders. They naively believe that those that harness power, influence, and knowledge consider their welfare and health. The issue becomes particularly nefarious when people place their confidence in a physician, an apothecary, or a surgeon. They trade away their health and seldom place responsibility for mishaps on the expert's hands. Many diligent doctors waste away their lives bringing good to the world, but others take advantage of people's trust and wreak havoc on small communities to further their insane goals. So I haven't really seen an adventure that sort of takes that angle. And so I think having this sort of snake oil salesman type, character, or, faulty doctor, somebody who doesn't even have a license, in the real world, we would call it somebody who's practicing without a license, right? Having that kind of character who's abusing the trust of people, come up in a story could be really different and fun. And that's just one of the adventures out of the 10 that are going to be in this issue of Dungeon Vault magazine. So, and again, these maps are just so stunning. I think it's always worth it just to get those. You got the figurines of power. So it says, dwarvish treasure hoards are legendary. Countless myths and tales tell stories of abandoned or hidden hoards where rich dwarvish clans buried their hard-earned riches to avoid other clans from appropriating them. These vaults feature protective measures, enchantments, and traps that rival those of dragons and powerful wizards. Many are the stories of the hapless adventurers who try to retrieve the valuable legacy of a long-lost dwarf clan. They often lose their lives fighting the mighty tomb guardians or falling prey to the merciless traps. So this is going to be the dwarf sort of tomb or repository of their treasures. And then, of course, you've got this really cool map up here for the Raven Mirrors of Truth. The mirrors hold great power and knowledge, but the truth they tell comes with a price. One must prove their worth to the arcane mirrors. So yeah, if you like mirrors, this could be really fun. I could see a whole adventure built around mirrors. Mirrors are such a fun thing to explore. They've got to be kind of rare in a fantasy setting because creating a mirror is not simple. So experiencing a mirror, a character first time even seeing themselves in a mirror can be a really interesting thing. It says Adventure Delves is meant to be used as a test or challenge for the adventurers. The Raven Mirrors of Truth are found in a demi-plane, a small universe contained by arcane laws and magic. Little is known about the creation of this place, despite decades of meticulous work by scholars, researchers, and historians. So love this whole demi-plane. And I mean, it's making me think again of the Feywild Companion, because we have in that book the mirror domain for the clerics, and it's all about their handheld mirror and their connection to it. So if you could play one of those characters with this particular adventure and explore their connection to the mirror. There's so many other things you can do with mirrors. There's just legends and superstitions around mirrors. And then of course the adventures in here, I mean, we've read from all of them and they read really well. They're well done. You've got some guest authors involved in them, and such a wide assortment of it. I really think Elven Tower is just putting out this great value on such a regular basis at such a low price that if you can just even pick up a few of their issues of their Vault magazine or their other releases, just to have on standby for when somebody's going to be absent, or you have maybe you have some guests coming into town and they want to have they want you to play D&D with them, and you don't have time to create a whole campaign. You can just play one of these one shots, and with 10 to pick from you should be able to find one already set with the maps. That's the other thing, you buy a lot of books with one shots and there's no maps, so then you have to scrounge and find your own maps or create your own or go without. So I think you should grab it. It's in the links below. Dungeon Vault Magazine 26. Give it a click. Next we have the Fiend Binder, the power of fiends locked within crystals. And so this is a brand new class for 5th edition. It's Shadeside Entertainment release, $4.99 for 26 pages, author Ryan Gerbig. It says, bargaining with devils and sapping the strength of demons, the artful Fiend Binder harnesses the power they gain through meddling with evil forces by channeling it through dark crystals. The Fiend Binder is a class that pulls from the abilities of fiendish entities, condensing them into crystalline shards and using them for their gain at little cost to themselves. They are the foremost experts on fiends, strange and rambunctious as they might seem, treading dark waters that would drive everyone else mad. No two Fiend Binders are truly the same, as fiendish power can manifest in many different ways. Through the 30 Fiend shards to choose from within this book, particular tools of the trade and crystallized foci, special magic items crafted specifically for Fiend Binders, and the diabolic styles they employ to suit their needs and personalities, and to cope with the gnawing presence in the backs of their minds. The 6 diabolic styles contained within all feature different themes and playstyles, from stylish martial fighters to pack-making spellcasters. So you get 6 different subclasses to use with your brand new class here, which is exciting. I love the concept of this. I love crystals to begin with. I'm often incorporating crystals and gems in my works because I just think they're cool. But it's just fun to think of a class built around them. So really could be a fun time here. Let's look at it. So you got all the features, and then it gets into those diabolic styles, which is cool. I also like that it's connected to fiends because you don't often see that with a class. So you get the intro. And then here's their spells. So they know a certain number of shards, I guess, which are the crystals. And then you've got creating one, and then the class features. You get to see the whole book here, which I really applaud, because especially with the new class, I think it's helpful for people to see all of that. So by making pacts with devils, demons, and other fiends, or by sapping their strength using forbidden knowledge, you can harness their magic powers as your own through the use of crystallized essences called fiend shards. So you gain 2 of those, and then you can it requires you to channel energy called essence points into it. At first level you have 3 essence points, and you gain more as you reach higher levels. So then you can use your crystals. And then you've got cantrips, fiend ability, and then you can speak, read, and write your choice of either abyssal or infernal. And you have advantage on intelligence checks made to recall lore about fiends. And then at level 2, you adapt to one of the many dedicated styles, so that's where you get your subclass. And then at 3, you get your crystallized focus. You gain knowledge to create a specialized tool to better harness your fiendish power in the form of a crystallized focus. Choose one of the options presented at the end of the class description. A focus's description defines what materials are needed to create it and how much time it takes to do so. If a focus defines a specific diabolic style, you must have chosen that subclass to create the focus. So then when you get to the end here, here's the diabolic styles. So they have an amalgam, and let's see what else they've got down here. They've got Dark Slayer, Faustian, Trickster, Triggerman, and then you get into the shards, which it looks like they're kind of set up like spells. So the first one, Alluring Charm, 13th level, 6 essence points. You target one humanoid you can see within range. It must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you for the duration. The charmed target obeys your spoken commands. If the target suffers any harm or receives a suicidal command from you, the target can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on itself on a success. You can only have one creature charmed in this way at a time. So bunch of those. There's a ton of those that you can read, all the way down to Shadow Walk and Wrath of Blades. And then here's the crystallized foci. So abyssal focus. Your crystallized focus is a caster's focus corrupted by fiendish energy. It gains the following properties. So at 3rd level, the focus has a number of charges equal to 2 plus your proficiency bonus plus your int modifier to a minimum of 1 charge. It regains 1d6 plus 1 charges every day at dawn. You can use a bonus action on your turn to spend 2 essence points and regain 1d4 spent charges. And then also at 3rd level, when you use one of your fiend shards, you can brandish the focus and spend a charge to reduce the essence point cost for that shard by 1 to a minimum cost of 1 essence point. You can only use the property once per fiend shard, and then it gives you stuff at 5th and 13th level. So, and then you've got a weapon, Periaptive Sin. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So it could be really fun to play around with these different fiendish shards, have some sort of connection to fiends, play with these crystals and the different subclasses. I think new classes are always fun to explore because, you know, we've had the same classes for years now with 5th edition, and so sometimes mixing it up is good. So check it out. It's under Fiend Binder, and the link's below. Give it a click. Next, we have Foreword Mercenaries with this fun cover from Sam Chup Media. It's on sale for $4.99, and it says the Foreword books are a new series of systemless source books designed to give your players a reason to work together from the very start. Foreword Mercenaries talks about the Mercenaries Guild, a non-creedal, non-partisan group of like-minded warriors and casters looking to make a living by the blade or spell. Like any guild, this one will stand behind you in situations where your employer seeks to screw you over and helps you negotiate for decent pay and working conditions. For the GM, this book describes how to create a merc guild, people it, and create a living, breathing history. Also, you will get tips on how to create jobs for your mercs. For players, this book helps you think about how things went during your boot camp and also gives a mage player a chance to focus their talents into areas that mercs find useful. And it's 31 pages. So I like this because if you think about a foreword in terms of how it works with a book, right? A foreword is kind of before you get into the action, before all this stuff happens, we're going to say some things. So the concept of the series is before we get into the party, there's going to be some stuff that happened in the past or that brought us together rather than just meeting at a tavern and, you know, sort of deciding that we're going to get along and go have this adventure, right? So the book starts with a little sort of piece of fiction, which is fun. And then it gives you an overview of the system. And again, this is system neutral. So you can use it with OSR, 5th edition, any other fantasy role-playing game. So says it provides you with detailed Mercenaries Guild, its organization and membership, its services and facilities. So you're going to have this Mercenaries Guild. I guess you could even use this book just as a backdrop, as a faction, you know, for adventures. It doesn't have to be that the characters came from there. I know that's how the book is oriented, but you could use all the history that's going to be in here just to have as a faction as well. With this information, the player characters can utilize shared resources and create a reason why they might trust a total stranger from day one, or even if they do not trust your fellow PCs, you have at least a rationale for working with them. So Mercenaries Guild is always a really good guild that brings adventurers together because it's a profession in a sense, right? And it says it's a relatively old institution compared to most non-governmental organizations. Its origins are shrouded in mystery. Depending on who you ask, the guild came out of a young adventurer, Maxillon Garvin, having come upon a dragon's horde without the dragon in attendance, decided to quit the adventuring game while he was still ahead and instead started up a business designed to assist all those like him who sought their fame and fortune as a sellsword. Or it came about as a group of defamed and potentially criminal ex-soldiers who decided to leave their kingdom's military units and form their own institution to force them to pay what a sword was worth. And there's some other options, of course, too. So you can work through those with your party or choose if you're the DM, I guess. And then it goes through a glossary of like some of the different things that you're going to encounter in this book, like including the slop house, which is the canteen. And then you've got the guild agenda. Unlike other adventurers organizations that may pursue their own political agendas, however, the Mercenaries Guild does not in any way seek to make the world a better place or in any other way impose their morals or values on the working sellsword. They value individual determination and personal choice. However, they will always get involved in the following areas: misconduct by mercenaries, misconduct by employees, failure to pay fees, etc. So you get that kind of guidelines for when the guild would get involved and the benefits of guild services, the job board, messaging, other useful services, guild auctions, which could be really fun, anonymous auction to benefit its members. That could be a great way to get an item into the party if there's an item you're trying to get in there. And then how to create your local guild house. And it talks about whether you build it or buy it. And then gives you some options on recruiting, and then the palette of rooms, like what might be in there. So this is really going to step by step take you through building this Mercenaries Guild, and the backstory for your players or the backdrop for a faction or adventure. So I like this series. I think it's going to be really fun. I love that it's system neutral, which makes sense because most of it is really rolling just random stuff to kind of decide things or picking from a list, as opposed to you really need all these mechanics. I mean, you've got Mercenary stat blocks out there that you can get. You don't need a book full of stat blocks to be in here. You just need kind of guidance on how do I create this from the ground up? How do I populate this guild? How does it work? What are its rules, etc.? So looking forward to seeing more from this series, the Foreword series, and I hope you check it out. It's under Foreword Mercenaries in the links below. Give it a click. All right, next we have Monstrous Personas. It's a 5th edition supplement by Spoony Minstrel Games and a bunch of authors, including Miguel Colon, Kim Franson, Jeff Gander, Guillermo Heredia, Beth Jones, and Ayumi Morris. And it is 119 pages. And as I said, for 5th edition, it says you'll find uses for monsters that have either been long deceased or recently slain by your players. Spirits left behind by fallen monsters become available as resources for players and NPCs alike as templates to grant them new abilities. Within the pages of this book, we examine monsters, each with art crafted by Phil Stone, and see their effects when their spirits are absorbed, causing a transformation which allows others to utilize powers and abilities that the base creature had access to in life. So there's been a number of third-party publications out there to just kind of give you things like how to harvest body parts or, do other things with deceased creatures. But this one seems like it could be another angle that's really fun, and that is, absorbing their power. So it talks about animancy as an art that has been lost for some time, as it had been considered taboo. The knowledge of the magic was hidden away by scholars who believed it too dangerous for those other than the masters to practice. I believe in something different. I believe that knowledge should be free, as the consequences of ignorance far outweigh the potential for harm. My name is Cadence Maestro, and I am here to speak on the subject of animancy and the monstrous personas that adventurers can inhabit. Just know this is a dark art with dark implications. So it says every spirit you come across has a favorite ability score. You must touch the spirit in a ritual that takes 10 minutes. After these 10 minutes are over, you must make a saving throw with that ability score in the DC listed. Some creature spirits have additional requirements which would give you advantage or disadvantage on the saving throw. If you succeed, you absorb the spirit into you and gain its level 1 bond ability. If you continue to do this with the spirits of the same creatures, you gain its level 2 and level 3 bond abilities. If you fail your saving throw, follow the rules for recruitment failure and that spirit is destroyed, unable to be bonded by anyone else. You may only recruit one spirit this way per day. So, and then it talks about after a long rest, what happens. I'll let you read that. So, Aboleth. So, just to kind of recap, if you absorb the Aboleth the first time a spirit, if you're successful absorbing it, if you want to unlock its level 2 ability, you have to find another deceased Aboleth and touch it and absorb it and all that stuff, right? Or you have to kill an Aboleth and then do it, right? So just want to make sure that's clear, which I think that's a reasonable requirement. So on the Aboleth, the favorite ability score is intelligence, and you have to beat the DC 14. On a failure, your mind is assailed by the Aboleth spirit as it attempts to take complete control over you. Your thoughts are muddled as its telepathy interacts with you, distracting you and causing you to have disadvantage on intelligence and wisdom saving throws, as well as any intelligence or wisdom ability checks. This effect lasts until you complete a long rest, so you get a sort of negative effect if you don't succeed. At level 1, you can form a telepathic link with a willing creature within 60 feet as a bonus action, or an unwilling creature as an action. As long as you are within 60 feet of this creature, both of you can communicate telepathically. Though this link does not break if you move out of this distance, you can end this telepathic bond as a bonus action. An unwilling creature can attempt to resist the formation, etc. Right? So you're getting some telepathy for level 1. And that would be the first Aboleth corpse that you are successfully able to absorb the spirit with animancy. Then at level 2, the link at which you can form your telepathic bond increases to 90 feet. As an action, you can force a creature affected by your telepathic bond to make an intelligence saving throw, etc. On a failure, the creature is charmed by you. So you're expanding your telepathy to even charming people. And so these abilities, you basically get to keep them. Now, what I don't know, and maybe it says somewhere in the book, is if I get to level 1 with an Aboleth, and then I find another creature, can I add more abilities, or do I lose the Aboleth abilities to get the other creature's abilities? This is probably in here somewhere, but I'm not reading the whole book to you right now. I'm just reading the little sections. So level 3 is the link at which you can form your bond is even greater, and you can cause psychic damage to whoever you're linked with. So cool that you can have these telepathic links, so you can use it for communication. Then later, if you've absorbed more spirits, you can charm a creature, and then eventually you can do damage to it as well. So multiple uses for this telepathic bond that you've sort of stolen this ability from the Aboleth through animancy. So it just could be really, really fun. And there's a lot of creatures in here. They got the brass dragon, the behir, the chimera, the wyvern, shadow, phoenix, owlbears, etc. So lots of popular creatures in here for you to choose from, and I think it could be a lot of fun. And it's only $10 for all this 119 pages of animancy. So check it out. It's in the links below under Monstrous Personas. Give it a click. Next, we have Organic Towns from Headless Hydra Press. It's $24.99, 144 pages. Authors Shane Collins, Ash Montague, Joseph Caro. And it says, after weeks of travel and adventures, the party returns to the town to discover nothing. Literally nothing is different since they left. We can do better than that. Organic Towns is a system-neutral supplement GMs can use to create, grow, and run towns that feel alive. The system will help you run interesting, memorable, and constantly changing settlements while making your life as a GM easier. You've got drop-in mechanics that fit any tabletop fantasy role-playing game. Organic Towns includes dozens of random tables and over 100 unique buildings and upgrades to make your settlement one of a kind. Your town will be a living, breathing, changing world that is simple to manage, create an and immerse role-play experience for your gaming group. So I love settlements, towns, all that stuff in fantasy role-playing games. I think urban exploration is just one of the funnest things. And books like this are epic because it is true. You go out and you do all this adventure, and sometimes you have 3-4 sessions, and then you come back to the town, and it's like, good day, and everything's the same. And it's like, oh, okay, did you just freeze in place until we got back? Like, what? What is going on here? Maybe you have one bartender, that's a little different. Or one little character that's maybe something's different, but for the most part everything seems to be the same. So this book aims to change that by giving you all this stuff. So unfortunately there's no quick preview or full-size preview, but I did include it because we do have these screen caps that we can read here. So you can see there's settlement resources going into population growth, dealing with inadequate housing, inadequate food, and then you've got docks here. So let's zoom in and read a little bit about these. So the inadequate housing table, it says 1d4 residents die from exposure, 1d8 residents die from exposure. So yeah, you could go out, come back, and find out, oh, did you hear that the folks over there were dying? And then you find out, okay, it's why? Well, because there's inadequate housing, right? Or other things that come up here. So several days of extreme weather kills 1% of the population. I mean, that could happen. You come back and say, oh, we had terrible storms. Wish you were here to protect us. That kind of stuff. Inadequate food. Then you've got docks. So it says prerequisites to build those and the maintenance, but then you also have events happening at the dock. So a ship arrived that was carrying either diseased rats, a stowaway criminal, smuggled goods for the black market, rowdy troublemaking sailors. So you can just roll all of this. You can go through here and pick, or you can roll and say, okay, yeah, a ship arrived with smuggled goods from the black market, that's an update. That's a change from the last time you were in this town, because maybe there aren't a lot of ships that pass through. Maybe, once a month or twice a month you see a ship come through here, so that would be the big news of the day, right? So with a lot of tables like this, I mean, there's 144 pages of this stuff. I think you're going to be able to really have so many options for 5th edition, OSR, 3rd edition, 2nd edition, any edition of this game or other games, to make it feel like, okay, it's a real town. It's a living, breathing town. We went away and something changed. That's the key, is what changed. Because if it's just the same, even the same greeting is going to be like, okay, it's just frozen in time until we get back here, which could be a story too, I guess. But I prefer these living, breathing, organic towns. So you need to look for it in the video description links under organic towns and give it a click. Next, we have the Palace of 1001 Rooms, and specifically we're looking at Chapter 2, the Guesthouse. So this series of books, as near as I can tell, is designed to eventually, if you get all the books, so this one's going to cover 101 to 200, rooms numbers 101 to 200. So eventually, if you get all the books, you're going to have 1001 rooms in a palace. I mean, that's just unheard of, to have that much information and detail about a single location. That's huge. So really, really cool. I'm excited that they have this. They released a bunch of the room books this week, but as you know, we only ever cover one title per publisher per week. So we picked this one, but I want you to, once you click the link, consider clicking on Map Master Battle Maps up here, the publishers, and looking at some of their other ones as well while you're looking at it. It's on sale right now for $12, and it's 114 pages just for these 100 rooms. So that's a lot of material. And it says it's a module for Dungeons & Dragons gaming systems. The concept is a magical and mysterious palace in the clouds, accessible from many worlds, whose rooms are all connected by portals that lead to random locations within the palace. It is a ready-to-go, off-the-shelf mega dungeon romp for 1st to 20th level characters, with a lot of 2nd and 1st edition content presented in a generic, non-edition specific format. So really love that. The system neutral. Players or DMs roll a D100 to determine the room they're in, and there is a corresponding page number in the PDF. It's a 1-to-1 match. So a roll of 53 sends the DM and players to page 53 of the PDF, where the details of that room are shown along with an illustration. And then presumably, let's say you buy all the books in the series, which I would love to do, you would maybe number the books, right? And so then, like, chapter 2 would be a roll of a 2 on something, right? And then you would roll again on a dice to get on a die to get the room, of D100 to get the room, right? So very cool. It says this chapter will be a classic story of swords and sorcery, with a princess at the heart of it, along with knights and wicked sorcerers. Just the first chapter told of a story of how it came to exist. The guest house is part of the Palace of 1001 Rooms, but it has manifested itself in the form of a sleeping princess's dream that the adventuring party will walk into as they begin, unbeknownst to them. So it's a party of 3 to 4 characters between levels 3 and 4. So yeah, you could play just with this book. It looks like maybe that's what's recommended, but I can imagine, rolling to choose the book and then rolling within the book too. So very cool. But another wonderful part of this, because I've looked through the previews of several of this series, is this gorgeous artwork that they have for each of the rooms, and it's consistent. It's the same artist. So when you look at this bedroom here with all the numbered points of interest, it's going to be the same style. See, we're here in the dungeon campsite and the suitor's waiting parlor. So you can see how each one of these rooms is a different experience. And they've had the same artist create each of these. I mean, this one has a hallway with a golem in it, it looks like. I mean, bravo. I think this was such a great concept for a series of books, and so beautifully executed, because so easily you can look at this. Okay, here at the bedroom, okay, we have number 1. So that's this little circle here. It says the white candle alight signifies that our guests are in the friendlier and younger recesses of Adonia's unconscious. And then number 2 The pitcher on the table is a pitcher of endless water, which may be described elsewhere in the book. And then number 3, the sculpted bust is of value, but probably far too heavy to lug around. If appraised, the appraiser will determine it is a bust of some famous queen in their realm of knowledge worth 800 GP. So I wonder if you get the art without the numbers on it as well somewhere, so you can maybe show this to your players and say, let them just say, oh, I want to look at this, or I want to look at that. You might be able to like block it out or something, but I think it'd be obvious if there is a circle there. Probably just have to describe it, because it says this finely dressed room is warm and welcoming, lit by many candles. It appears to be an excellent resting place with clean sheets and water. So yeah, you might not want to draw attention to some of the stuff in there, but I love it. There's just so much. It says this chamber is reminiscent of one of the guest rooms of Princess Adania's aunts, where she used to stay when visiting. Anyone who sleeps in this room will have dreams of a room similar to this one and the face of Adania's beloved aunt. It says this chamber is pretty well safe aside from the creeping spider at night, but given that there are so many portals into this room, we suggest rolling an encounter or two. 2 of the heavy doors can be closed to afford some protection from interlopers. So you can see, portals, right? You have portals you have to contend with in these rooms as well, because this is a palace full of portals, and they're depicted in a lot of these images, right? I love this concept. I think it's going to be so much fun for people. Hopefully, when all the books come out, there'll be a bundle to buy them all, because that's something I would be interested in too. So very, very cool. I hope you check it out and check out the other titles in the series. I know at least one other one, maybe more than one other one, came out this week, so you're going to want to check those out as well. So look for it. It's in the video description, links under Palace of 1001 Rooms. Give it a click. Next we have Trick and Treat from AAW Games. It is $9.99 on sale for the PDF. And then there's also a softcover premium color book for $21.99, or for just a little more, $22.99, you can get the PDF with the softcover. And it's for 5th edition, authors Nico McDougall and Arian Eastman. It's 36 pages. It says it was supposed to be the best Halloween ever for a group of young role players. Dress up like their current characters, get some candy, and settle in for a night of fun rolling the dice. When one greedy trick-or-treater takes more than their share from the wrong house, the group is transported to another realm. Not only have the trick-or-treaters attained the powers of their costumes, they have also become ghosts, and in order to escape their predicament, they need to gather their own bones. In Treat, you will find full rules for playing ghost characters, 4 ready-to-play characters showcasing AAW Games underworld races and classes, Skull Ball, a game for those who don't want to lose their heads, a wedding, proving that love transcends death, skeletal ravens that never more want to return your bones, and a whole array of unique characters or monsters. So, and there's even a little video here, and it looks like a fun one to watch. So exciting. Let's look inside. And it talks about Halloween is the best time of the year, and this is, I think, going to be just a great grab for Halloween any time of the year. And what's great is you can get a print edition. I'm not sure the print edition would ship in time for Halloween, because it does take a bit. It might, but you could buy the combo so that you could have the PDF for this Halloween and use that. And it says king-size candy bars. Each character has received a king-size candy bar from 𝘽𝙤𝙘 that functions as a potion of healing. If the characters have successfully beaten Treat, they might have additional king-size candy bars from that adventure's conclusion. So you could even give all the players that get this king-size candy bar an actual candy bar and say, whenever you want to use your potion of healing, just eat it. Now, some people might waste their potion of healing because they'll just eat their candy bar, but you could have fun with it and make it interactive and, in the real world a little bit too. So there's some fun different stuff in here, like a hypothermia table. Heat-touched, concentration starts to suffer slightly. Profuse sweating and mild headaches begin. Heat-touched characters have a -2 penalty on intelligence and wisdom checks. Dehydrated, the character begins to have trouble focusing on tasks. Activities requiring lengthy concentration take twice as long to complete successfully as the mind wanders. A dehydrated spellcaster must succeed on a con check to cast any spell with a casting time greater than 1 action. On a failure, the spell slot is expended and the spell fails. And that's just the first 2. It goes all the way up to death on the 6th rolling of a 6, or level, I should say. It's not really, even though it looks like a d6, it's just the level of hypothermia. You got some fun maps in here, like it talks about the gate to hell. The characters emerge from the portal on an elevated outcropping of rock. Etched into the stone is a faint pattern identical to the teleportation circle under the house. Adjacent to the party is a boulder with a strange glyph on it. A pitiful meow echoes from the direction of Area 6. And then it goes into the sealed circle and the boulder. And then you got knowledge, like if on a 10 you find out that the glyph is a pictorial representation of a creature known as 𝙭𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙫. It is a legendary fiend known to trap innocent house cats or kidnap them. Then you got circles of bone, a playful orb. This orb has 3 charges that replenish at dawn. The orb can be thrown like a dart or placed on the ground. Either use consumes 1 charge. Upon impact, the orb casts dancing lights with the duration of 1 minute. Additionally, if the wearer has vulnerability to fire damage, they can expend a charge when taking fire damage to only take the regular fire damage instead of double fire damage. I like that. 2 different abilities that are good, and you can throw them out there. Got a cat figurine. I mean, just a lot of fun stuff to do, and it's all very Halloween-like with the gate to hell and the candy bars. And you can see the really cool artwork here. I love this picture, and it takes me back to when I was a kid and got to dress up for Halloween. Could still dress up, but it wasn't, it was never going to be as fun as it was when I was a kid, right? So cool. Love this. Love the title. Love the cover. Love everything about it. Love that it's print or digital or both. And could really make your Halloween fun. I mean, think about that. If you're DM, you could really give somebody a memorable Halloween. It doesn't have to be on Halloween itself. It can be like a couple days before or day after or whatever. Give them a memorable Halloween fun adventure. And this could be it for you. So check it out. It's under Trick and Treat in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that's our last drive-through title for the week. We're going to move on to DM's Guild. But before we do, please like the video for the algorithm and leave us a comment. I will respond to all those personally. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share the video out there with your friends so we can get more eyeballs on all these awesome creators and titles that come out every week, and help support them so that we can just keep growing the people that start to use third-party publications, because everybody needs to know that there's a lot of other options out there beyond the big publishers as well. Then if you could click those links in the video description and purchase the books we've talked about this week. That really helps all these creators continue to do what they love to do and supplement their incomes, maybe even spin off into just focusing on creating books for you instead of keeping their day jobs or whatever, right? So very, very helpful. And any purchase you make, even if it's not a book we covered in this episode, if you click our link first and make a purchase, it's going to help us through a small affiliate fee. So we appreciate when you do your shopping with us. And we've also got 6 books that we've created from Splinterverse Media listed in the video description as well. So we hope you'll check those out. We have a new Dragonlance book coming out at the end of the year, so we're excited to start showing more of that very soon. And you can check out all the titles at splinterverse.com. We have Swarms of the Multiverse, which is over 180 pages, print or digital, gives you 70 new creatures along with corresponding stat blocks for their swarms or the swarms that they control, or any kind of related swarm. So you get 140 stat blocks, you get 150 adventure hooks, because we've got adventure hooks for each of the creatures, tons of lore for them, a playlist of tactics so you know exactly what order to play things if you want to go in a hurry, and special bonus items like demi-planes connected to the creatures, or diseases or factions or magic items. It's all in there, and it's a lot of fun, including how to make your own swarms and environmental swarms that are not hit point based. They're more like hazards that you encounter as you go through the world. Then we've got our platinum best-selling Feywild Companion, which is over 150 pages in print or digital, covering everything you want for any kind of Fey realm, especially the Feywild. We've got a brand new domain of delight called Dualis, which is really intriguing. It's set up, I don't want to give it away in case you're a player, but there's a really cool sort of crux to that domain. And then there's subclasses that are Fey themed. You've got magic items, spells, entire adventures, encounters, monsters, you name it, it's in there if you want something related to the Fae. And then we've got Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, which is also a platinum bestseller, just became one this week, and it's covers everything dragon themed. It's meant to be a companion to Fizban's Treasury or work on its own, and it has subclasses for every class that are dragon themed. It's got magic items, horde magic items, draconic gifts, a familiar, backgrounds, other stuff, and then at the very end we go through and we give DMs adventure hooks for all the things in the book, so it becomes not just a player supplement but a DM supplement as well. Because remember, lots of player things like subclasses can become NPCs as well. They don't have to be just for players. In fact, you may even choose not to let the players use a certain subclass and just use it for NPCs or bads in your game. Then we've got Secrets of the Draugr, which is a melding of the Drow with the Duergar race to create a brand new experience for you. It's got new deities, backgrounds, subclasses, a fortune-telling method, really cool stuff in there. And then we've got Van Richten's Librum of Lineages, which is suitable for any setting. There's 4 very conflict-focused lineages. For example, there's the Key Keeper, where you're given a mysterious key that now is bonded to your soul, and if you lose the key, you die, and there's all other sorts of other things connected to the key, right? So it can be really, really fun to explore that. Plus, there's optional rules on how to string 2 lineages together for an interesting experience, or how to remove a lineage if you have a player that no longer wants the lineage, or you just want to do that for fun and make an interesting story out of it. It talks about how to do it from a story point of view and a mechanical point of view. Then we've got Potions Unlocked, which is over 100 pages, print or digital, focused on everything you could want for potions to make them fun and not just a boring potion of healing over and over and over. It talks about how do they smell, how do they taste, what's on their label, what are some optional rules, how do I craft the potions, and then with all the brand new potions, we have glorious, gorgeous artwork for them, plus a short story about how that potion came into existence. So you can incorporate that into a vendor selling the potion, telling the story, or you can turn that story into an encounter or an adventure, or have it be happening right behind the characters and they see the final part of it or something. So many ways to work those. And plus we have potion themed locations, vendors that have full inventory lists and potion related maps, like a potion shop for VTT. Lots of fun potion stuff in there. And that could also be great for Halloween. So check that book out as well. It's all in the video description links and at splinterverse.com. All right, thank you so much for listening to my little spiel. Let's move on to DM's Guild for this week. First, we have The Brotherhood of the Griffon by Priscilla Lagares and Christian Zook. It is a 7th to 8th level one-shot, and it's $4.99 for 30 pages. And it says it's set in the nation of Thesk in the Forgotten Realms. The party heads to Pheasant, where the characters get the chance to investigate the Brotherhood of the Griffon whereabouts, more specifically, their leader, Eoth Fezim. It's got 3 chapters exploring Pheasant, looking for the mercenaries in a mine and looking for the mercenaries in a forest, with a final showdown against a necromancer in a crypt. And it says it's inspired by the characters presented in the novels from Richard Lee Byers. So that's really cool. If you like the Forgotten Realms novels, you're going to see some representation here of some of the characters from those books. And you get 2 new creatures, 6 maps with 35 versions of those maps in total, and 13 stat blocks for your convenience. So very cool. So looking inside, got some fun artwork, very nice layout. So gives you kind of an intro to the adventure, background, adventure synopsis, and then you get this gorgeous map. It's a Faerun political map, so you get to kind of see all the factions at play in the various regions of Faerun. And then you got some potential hooks, including a twist, and then exploring Pheasant. So getting to see pretty much everything in this preview. So you get to see the whole book. Like, that's an awesome map right there, this sort of mine they've got going on. Talks about darkness and dim light. Yeah, just scrolling through, looking at gorgeous maps as we go through. Like, look at this with the sort of pentagram ritual setting here. So presumably that's where you battle the necromancer big bad boss, and the contract here, and there's little street, and then at the end you get the bestiary with the archer, the 𝙤𝙗𝙗, who's who you're trying to rescue, the corpse flower, evoker wizard, a bunch of stat blocks. So lots of stuff that you can reuse elsewhere. And I love that some of these are just like Oracle, Swashbuckler, Warlord, because that makes them kind of really generic enough to really be portable to other places. Sometimes when you see a name on it, you're more hesitant. Oh, I got to reskin this. But when it's more generic like that, I think people are more inclined to port it somewhere else. So very cool. But let's find some stuff to read for you. So it says, scouring the mines. Since the mines are roughly a day's travel to the southwest from Svant Perimeter, it is likely that the characters will choose to travel there first. Though the paths are well marked and well tread, one of Lee's miners is waiting at the city gates before the group departs. A young halfling named 𝘏𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, a neutral good commoner, waves the characters over and introduces himself as their guide. As the characters make headway toward the mines, 𝘏𝙤𝙤, eager to be helpful but obviously nervous, keeps up a steady stream of chatter, answering any questions they may have or commenting on anything ranging from the weather to the time of day. If they make a positive impression on him, the young halfling comes to think of them as heroes and decides he wants to follow their example. So very cool. You get a sort of halfling sidekick almost who wants to be like them, which is fun. Again, I love this map, especially how the train tracks or sort of mining car tracks go through this little tunnel before coming into the main room. A lot of times I've seen those in maps, but never with a tunnel, always kind of out in the open. So it's nice to have both of those. And you can reuse this for all kinds of mine situations. And then here's some flavor text. We'll read that as well. A sound like a distant shout echoes down the hall. As you pause and strain to listen, taking stock of your surroundings, the shadows along the shaft grow darker, clinging tightly to your skin. A whisper, sibilant and half-heard, begins to tickle at the back of each of your minds. It sounds almost like gibberish. And as you continue your steady march down the hall, you have the sudden feeling of being watched. So very moody, takes you right there. You know, I love when flavor text sort of sets that tone and makes you feel like, oh, okay, it's about to begin. We're there, right? And so that definitely, the way it was written, makes you feel that way. And I think DMs can have a lot of fun reading flavor text like that. But I'm just kind of quickly scrolling through again so you can see some more. Love maps like this too, where you get all the different buildings marked. You know, their heights and stuff, so you can figure out if you wanted to use this for a rooftop chase or something, right? You could do that. And there's some information on getting to the rooftop, so it sounds like that might be important in this adventure. So lots of value here. Love that you can see the whole book. So there's no reason not to come here and check it out and see if it's going to work for you. If you need a one-shot for 7th to 8th level, look for the Brotherhood of the Griffon in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Dangers in the Kingdoms from John Paget, 446, and it's 5 adventures, and it's 9 pages. So it says, an area ruled by a royal sovereign is one of order and civility. Keeping it that way falls to the champions of society, the knights, dukes, sheriffs, and mayors, for outside of the cities, lawlessness and chaos are only a few actions away. But is order always a good thing? Is the societal hierarchy working, or does the kingdom need to change? 5 compelling kingdom-themed stories. Each one-page module tells a unique story, carefully crafted and crammed with all the information needed to run the adventure. And then it goes through the different options. So you have some that are easy, some that are hard, everything from harvest time to the floating hill. And it says each module provides 3 to 4 hours of interactive entertainment and action, background to each adventure, scenario, environment, and locations to visit, NPCs, stat blocks, and the encounters can be for low 1 to 4, you know, basically all the tiers. And really cool stuff. It's got 18 unique encounters, 25 locations, so lots of material packed into this. And John often will do these one-page things, which I really appreciate, because maybe you like working from a printed version, so you could easily print these. And if I zoom out, you can see this whole page is the whole adventure. So you got Harvest Time, Unrest in the Guilders, the Vile Duke, etc. So you can print these. There's not a ton of color on the pages, so you could even print grayscale and it wouldn't be a problem. And then you can have it right there. You don't have to look around, 40 different pages, looking stuff up on the internet, because it's almost all going to be here. Now, of course, if a character takes a wrong turn and goes down a different alley, as with any adventure, you might have to improv and come up with some stuff. But that's true of every adventure. So I'm not going to criticize this book for that, because it's true for all. But I do love that you can print these and just really dive deep into the adventure, and not have to look everywhere. I get lost in a page sometimes, and having just this one page to focus on if I was DMing would be really, really helpful. All right, so reading a little bit of the first one, Harvest Time says the town of 𝙤𝙤 has reached a critical point. Food stocks are low, and they rely on their food to pay the crown every year. The harvest should be a time of toil and reward, but workers are too afraid to return to the fields after they were spooked by horrifying creatures. The mayor wants the problem sorted immediately, and is offering a substantial reward. So it's a moody landscape, windy and dark clouds promising rain. The town is nestled in the valley, surrounded by crop fields. 3 farmers control the yield and activities of each field. So they have to make a perception check after each mission. On a DC 22, they notice that the clouds are swirling around the same spot between 2 hills. If questioned, the farmers will say there's nothing there except a bog. A DC 15 insight check is enough to guess that the mayor is hiding information and that the land is a dumping ground for used items uglifying his town. All right, so we're starting to get a hint of what's going on here, right? And then you've got the mayor and some of the farmers that you're going to meet profiled here for you. And then some of the locations like Farmer Josman's fields. So yeah, you could go to each one of these locations, and then of course the land beneath the swirling clouds would be where you need to eventually end up to solve this mystery. And then the encounters has got all the stats sort of together here. And I believe John is doing what they typically do in their titles here is separating it out with tiers. So you see how the hit points goes 12/24/48/96 on this swarm of squash rooks. That means if you're basically tier 1, the hit points are 12. If you're tier 2, 24, etc. So all the stats are slashed like that, other than the DCs up here. So you can easily tweak these to be whatever group you've got, whatever makeup you've got. Maybe it's about to be tier 2, so then right in the middle, maybe you do one of these at tier 1 and they become tier 2. In the middle, you can switch immediately to the stats for tier 2, and you just don't often see that. I really love that John Padgett does that, because I think it's innovative and helpful, makes the value of this even more so. So really, when you're spending the $4.46, you're getting 5 adventures for any level. So think about that when you make a purchase. Check it out. It's under Dangers in the Kingdoms in the video description links. Give it a click. Next, we have How to Craft Your Witch, the Witch class from Vesper Berjowski, $4.99 for 26 pages. So, Halloween's right around the corner. We're seeing some Halloween theme releases, as we do every year. And this one is no exception. Although it doesn't need Halloween to be used, you could have a witch appear at any time. This is really cool that they're providing a witch class for you. It says it's a wisdom-based spellcasting class that uses warlock-style spell slots and feature progression, envisioned as users of grassroots magic rather than of innate, studied, or gifted talent. Witches empower their spells using the lines of kinship that run among all creatures, objects, and concepts. Witches must create gewgaws, known as totems, to cast their spells, channeling ambient magic through humble craft. says go hurly-burly. In combat, the witch can cast hurly-burly to unleash the wild fury of their magic. Hurly-burly is a new melee cantrip exclusive to the witch class that deals bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, and eventually allows multiple attack rolls according to Eldritch Blast's progression. So they've modeled this on Warlock. So if you like Warlock and kind of the style of how that works with the Eldritch Invocations, the Eldritch Blast, all that stuff, you'll probably really like this. I do also like that Vesper is tying this to sort of grassroots magic. You know, any kind of magic world is going to have characters that want that power, and they're gonna mess around and try to find it and figure it out and invent things to try to get there if they can't find a way to get it otherwise. And so just like in the real world, we have people, you know, experimenting with herbs and other sort of supplements and things, you know, trying to cure things outside of traditional medicine. Same thing would happen in a magical world. So I like it. And then there's 7 different subclasses for this new class, including the occult. They're called occult callings. So you've got Beldam, Coven Keeper, Medium, Rambler, etc. And it says each subclass learns extra spells and gains a unique way to empower their totems. And then they gain a set of modular class feats to customize their abilities called kinnings. So that allows them to cast certain spells at will and improve their cantrips or grant them unique abilities. So again, very similar to Warlock, which I appreciate because Warlock has obviously been balanced by Wizards of the Coast. So if you're mimicking that pretty closely, that means this new class is probably going to be pretty balanced for 5th edition as well. But you'd have to play it to find out for sure. So you've got information on, you know, grassroots arcana and creating a witch, etc. in the typical class table here. You can see that it again is very similar to the Warlock. Got the occult callings, the craft, and then you get to the totems, and that I think is going to be a really fun part about it. So, and then you get the kinnings as part of your exploration as a witch. You have discovered certain perplexing rhymes and sigils that you can imbue with magical power. You have memorized these kinnings or tattooed them on your body, granting you permanent magical abilities. At 2nd level, you gain 2 kinnings of your choice. Your kinning choices are detailed at the end of each class description, or at the end of the class description. When you gain certain witch levels, you gain additional kinnings of your choice. So, pretty cool. At 3rd level, your practice with totems has unveiled 3 paths your totems might take. You gain one of the following features of your choice. Glamour. You learn the minor illusion cantrip. If you already knew it, you learn another one. And you can cast minor illusion as though you were in the space of one of your totems, provided the totem is within 1 mile of you. So that's helpful. You can put a totem down somewhere, go up to a mile away, and then you can cast this minor illusion on it. And whoever's near the totem would see that and, you know, potentially be delayed or distracted or whatever you're trying to accomplish, spooked maybe. Then you've got Goetia. You can use a bonus action to summon one of your totems to your hand, provided the totem is on the same plane of existence. And Grammarier. You always know the distance and direction to your totems, provided they are on the same plane of existence. If a totem is on another plane of existence, you know which plane and can substitute one of your other totems as the material component for plane shift to reach that plane. So some really fun different options. I feel like all 3 of those are very different. I think the last 2 are similar, but still they're different enough to feel like, hey, I got to really think about what choice I want to make for this. And then, as we said earlier, when you get into the occult callings, which is the subclasses, your totem is going to have a little bit of a different flavor to it as a result of that. So it says witchcraft is as old as magic itself and has just as many variations. Through the ages, patterns of power have become evident, manifesting as wordless calling to certain occult practices. So you got calling spells, you know, so each one gets access to extra spells. And then in this one, which is the Beldam, subclass, it says Totemic Fates. When you prepare your totems, you can cause a number of totems equal to your proficiency bonus to bind themselves to the eddies of fate. When you cast a spell of one of your fate-bound totems that require an attack or saving throw, after the spell's first attack or saving throw has been rolled, you can choose to flip the d20 to its exact opposite face and impose that number as the result of the roll. Once you have used this ability, you cannot do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Starting at 10th level, you can use this feature twice between rests. You can cast the spell of a fate-bound totem without interacting with it, providing the totem is within 1 mile of you. So that's a fun mechanic. I haven't seen that before. Knowing me, I wouldn't be able to find the other side of the d20 because I would probably accidentally tip it as I'm trying to flip it around. But I like the idea because you just never know what's going to be on the other side, I guess, unless you memorize the opposing faces. So that could be really, really fun. But you're getting to see the entirety of this book. So you can scroll through, look at things like the Planner Storm, which is a Rambler, another one of the occult callings, and they have a whole Planner Storm feature. I mean, these seem really cool, like totemic mutations here. It says your eyes swell to twice their size, bulging out of their sockets as the first option on the D10 table here. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of information. Then you get into the kennings, like you have, those are like Eldritch Invocations potentially. So all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, the spell list and the feats like Hurly-Burly. Let's look at Hurly-Burly. So transmutation cantrip, 1 action, range of self, instantaneous. It says you channel wild magic to harm your foe. You slash with supernaturally sharp nails, choke with locks of animated hair, bite with elongated teeth, or batter with telekinesis. Make a spell attack against a target within your reach. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 damage. The damage type is your choice of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. Regardless of whether you hit or miss, until the end of your turn, you have advantage on con saving throws made to maintain concentration. The spell allows you to make more than 1 attack when you reach higher levels. So 2 attacks at 5th, 3 attacks at 11th. So again, like Eldritch Blast, it improves. And it seems really fun. I like that it's got a variety of damage types. Although, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing are kind of similar. It's not like you're getting acid and cold or something. It's still cool that you can switch between types, right? And I like it. I love the name of it too. I think it's fun. So lots of good stuff in here. Whether you're going to create a Halloween themed situation, some sort of one-shot, where you're going to let the characters play as witches, or you want to do it all year round, this book for $4.99 is going to give you a full class. I love the cover too. I think it's really, really beautiful. So check it out. It's under How to Craft Your Witch in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Magic Armor and Weapons Templates by Robin Nix, $4.99 for 19 pages. It says, fill out your loot piles, treasure hoards, magic item shops, and more with 23 new armor templates, 31 new weapon templates, and 8 bonus wondrous items. These armor and weapon templates provide the DM an opportunity to create hundreds of new magic armors and weapons to dole out to their players. All of the templates are geared toward lower and mid-level play, so they should definitely see some action in most games and settings. So I love this. I mean, we've heard of templates for monsters, right? And now here are some for armor and weapons. So this is a quick way to make something that feels like you fully homebrewed it from beginning to end, but it's actually maybe a combination of a template and some other thought you had. Maybe you want to have like the armor of a villain, and so you come up with sort of like the lore of this armor and the look of it, and then you take one of these magic armor templates in this book and you slap it on top of it in terms of stats, right? And so between those two things, you have your custom Big Bad's armor. And that's really cool that it's enabling you to quickly homebrew something. So it's still going to have your DNA. It's going to have your creativity and your lore and the look of it and all that stuff. But maybe it's going to have some effects that were thought of by Robin here. So let's take a look inside. So you got your armor templates. They can give a DM more options. And it says, it gives an at-a-glance view of each armor template in this little table here. So you can get a quick look to see. So there are some qualifications. I mean, these aren't one size fits all. So you would have to have, you know, if you're trying to do a medium armor, for example, it would have to be one that has medium or any, right? You can't just put it on this tangle-free armor, which is only for light armor. Okay, so there's some guidance, and that's also good because it's going to help you keep from getting too OP or underpowered, hopefully. And then you got some qualified armor, so it gives you suggestions, like it could be ring mail or chain mail or splint or plate, etc. And then you start getting into some of the armor descriptions. So you're going to get to read quite a lot of them, and I love the artwork in here. It's really, really well done. So bravo to all the artists who worked on this. But we'll just start with the very first one. So armor, any light or medium armor, rare, requires attunement. This armor has a depiction of a closed fist on the front. While wearing this armor, you gain a +1 bonus to AC. You are immune to the incapacitated condition while wearing this armor. So, awesome. There you go. There's an effect. It tells you right in the description, okay, it's got to be a light or a medium, and it's going to be rare, so you got to keep the rarity in mind. You know, rare kind of aligns with tiers as well, so you might save that for a higher tier rather than, you know, tier 1. And then you've got the partial description. So it's not like 100%, it's got to look exactly like this. It's just saying it has a closed fist on the front. So you could put that on whatever other visual. Maybe you like to download images from Google and say this is the armor. So you could even cobble that together if you want, or even ignore this part of it if you want, right? So cool. And then you got beast armor. It says this armor is enchanted to protect you from certain types of creatures. While wearing this armor, you gain a +1 bonus to AC. When a beast deals damage to you, you can use your reaction to have the damage done to you. Once you use this feature of the armor, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. For the purpose of this armor, beast refers to any creature with the beast creature type. And there's a picture here that could conceivably be what the beast armor looks like. And it even says beast armor underneath it. But again, it's up to you. You could just slap these abilities on whatever, you know, maybe you have one with a tiger on the front or you know, some other beast on the front. So very cool. I love how this works because you can just throw these abilities on anything. And, you know, maybe you have some ribbon ability on your armor already, and then you want to slap these on for more non-ribbon abilities. And when I say ribbon, if you don't know what that means, ribbon is more of like a role-playing feature. It's not necessarily something that affects the power levels one way or the other too much. Might have a small power to it, but more causes role-play opportunities or flavor lore related stuff, as opposed to like full on I'm going to be able to shoot beams of light from this and you know, burn a hole through a wall or something, right? So really cool, and you know, just gorgeous artwork throughout here. I mean, you don't even have to use them as templates. I mean, based on what I'm reading, a lot of these could even be just the armor. You know, you just have the beast armor as is. So lots of cool stuff in here. There's wondrous items as well, and then of course weapons templates. We only looked at the armor because that's all that's in the full-size preview, but I love what I saw, so I think you should check it out. It's in the video description links under magic, armor, and weapons templates. Give it a click. Next, we have Masterwork Weapons by Darren Kinney, $2.95 for 10 pages. It says, while the wizard is bending time and space and the cleric is calling on angels to fight, does your greatsword ever feel a bit underwhelming? Look no further, friends. Masterwork Weapons are here. 28 new melee weapons, 7 new ranged weapons, and a plethora of new properties. Weapons that hit harder on each successive blow, weapons that work better in pairs, weapons that push and trip, and weapons that help your unarmed strikes hit harder. Whether you're a barbarian looking for a new gargantuan weapon to terrify your foes, a rogue looking for a signature weapon, or a beefy ranger looking for a bow and a little more punch, Masterwork Weapons has it all. Gain proficiency in these new weapons by training with a master or taking one of 2 new feats. So pretty cool. And you get to, we're going to zoom in because there's no full-size preview, so we're going to zoom in on the quick preview here so we can show you a little bit of it. So you got the Masterwork weapon proficiency and the feats, and training with a master. So it goes through all of that. It says occasionally you will encounter masters who will train you with a masterwork weapon. When you wish to learn, you must spend a I can't read that. It says, a 10-day studying with a master. Make 3 of the listed checks and use the table below to determine the number of successes. So you got multiple checks you can use, which is great because not everybody's going to have amazing dexterity or amazing strength, right? So it's nice to have some variety, and then goes through all the training. So I like that mechanism. You can even use that for training for other things. And then here's a list of like all the different weapons, and then there's some new properties like anti-cavalry. This weapon has advantage on attacks against mounted creatures or a creature that's being used as a mount, so that's pretty creative. You could have certain occasions where that might come in handy. Breaker, this weapon gains 1d4 to attack rolls against creatures using shields or wearing heavy armor. You've got concealable. Creatures have disadvantage on checks made to find these weapons on your person. So these are things you can slap on to a weapon. Maybe you already have a weapon you've created in your homebrew campaign, or that you've taken from another book and you feel like it's just missing a little something. You could take these properties even outside of the ones suggested in this book and slap them on to another item that you got out there. So love that. And that's just a partial list. We only got to the E, so there's a lot more in here for you to discover. And as I said, you've got several feats. So you got the Masterwork Weapon Training, which gives you +1 to your Strength or Dexterity score, and you gain proficiency with 3 Masterwork weapons of your choice. So makes it easy to incorporate the Masterwork weapons that are in here, because we're used to getting proficiencies for the ones elsewhere, in the official Wizards publications, but this gives you an option to extend it to the ones in this book. So very similar feats out there to what Wizards has. So I like that. Very cool. And I think you can never have enough items or options or properties to put onto a weapon. So check it out. It's in the video description links under Masterwork Weapons. Give it a click. Next, we have Monster Weaknesses of the Multiverse. So this is kind of like a sequel from Daniel Kahn. They've done Monster Weaknesses as a book previously for all the monsters that were in the Monster Manual, and now this one is focused on Monsters of the Multiverse. Mordenkainen presents Monsters of the Multiverse that came out not too long ago. And presumably it's going to go through every monster in that book and give you the weaknesses for those monsters like the previous book did for the Monster Manual. So what's cool is it's $11.95 for the PDF, and then you can also get a hardcover for $27.95 or a softcover for $17.95, and then you've got variations of those where you can bundle them together. And there's some other authors on the book, including Ari Messenger, Ashton Duncan, Brian Holmes, Glitchy Pixie, Madison Nickel, Michael Rosenthal, Never Not DM, Noah Grand, VJ Harris, and Django Games. So very cool. 56 pages in this one. So you get 500 plus combat and social weaknesses. This book provides combat weaknesses for every monster in that multiverse book, and social weaknesses for every monster that speaks a language available to player characters. The inspiration for these weaknesses comes from a creature's anatomy description or well-known legends. Each weakness presented in the book is meant to be a trait that can be appended to a creature's stat block. And then you get 14 custom illustrated expert. These are characters knowledgeable in each of the different monster types to walk you through the monster weaknesses. These characters can be used as NPCs or authors of tomes or notes that the players can discover. It contains advice and mechanics for discovering monster weaknesses, as well as designing your own. And so, the previous book was very well reviewed, and you can see kind of examples of the beautiful artwork throughout, and then also how it looks, when you print it. So very, very cool. Let's look inside. So you got your introduction, and it talks about, what even are these monster weaknesses, and then how to use them and discover them, and then it goes through each of them by creature type. So you got aberrations, beasts, constructs, dragons, elementals, fae, etc. So really, really cool. And then you got your foreword, and then it goes into what the monster weaknesses are. So in a lot of fantasy novels and movies and stuff, right, you got to discover what is the monster's weakness to take it down. And so this can be a really fun way to sort of go through and weave in some story to taking down a monster, instead of just, oh, here's a monster, kill it. It's, well, what is its weakness so we can have a better chance of taking it down. And if you've played that Beowulf, which is for 5th edition, it's a duet play where it's one player, one DM. Weaknesses of the monsters is a critical part of it. So it's cool to see it also now being used in regular 5th edition, where you have weaknesses being woven in. And then what's cool is it's not just one type of weakness. So they've got the combat weaknesses, which are meant to make battles more dynamic, strategic, and immersive. Combat weaknesses may remove traits from monsters, cause their attacks to have disadvantage, or make them more susceptible to certain conditions. And then you have social weaknesses as well, which are meant to make roleplay more interesting and rewarding, or potentially provide hooks to involve the player characters to interact more thoughtfully with NPCs. These weaknesses can provide advantage on charisma checks, help avoid combat, or help characters extract information from NPCs. So really cool that you have kind of both of those. And then of course there's a whole section on how to discover the weaknesses. It could be something that you discover in the moment or through researching it, and that's where those characters that are kind of guide you through these weaknesses in the pages of this book. You can use those characters to help you discover them if you want to do it in advance. And then there's this optional feat called Tactician, where you can use analytical skills to find tactical weaknesses in an enemy, and it gives you several features of that feat. And then it talks about weakness design, so that if you want to make your own weaknesses, maybe for a homebrew creature or a creature that's not represented in this book, you have some guidelines, which I think is super, super helpful, because you can kind of reverse engineer what the guidelines were for design on a book, but it's much better when the authors are like, these are sort of the guardrails that we used when we were designing our weaknesses. And a lot of them, it looks like here in this second half of that section, are questions. So just by answering questions, you can develop your own weaknesses, which I really, really love. So you get to see 13 pages in the preview. So this gives you a good glimpse into aberrations. So it says, the aberrations, and then they've got this character Astaris Inastra, who was once a drow paladin whose order was committed to defeating aberrations and routing out aberrant corruption across the world. Astaris believed their order was weak, too moral, and uptight to win a war against the unknowable beings of the far realms. They began taking pieces from their prey and using them to augment themselves. They studied Mind Flayer lore, dissected Slutty and Starspawn, and used whatever grisly remains they had left to repair their armor. Astaris has become obsessed with the idea of winning a game no one knows they're participating in. They don't share information with strangers unless they prove themselves in the only fight that matters, slaying aberrations. So if you want Astaris to give you any kind of information about weaknesses, you're going to have to first slay an aberration, and then maybe Astaris will start giving you some of the goods on, hey, this is how you take down a choker or cranium rat, etc. So then it goes right into some of the monsters. And so just looking at the first one, Balhanoth, says force pacification. Whenever a Balhanoth takes 20 or more slashing damage in a single turn, it loses one of its tentacles. If all 4 of its tentacles are removed, the Balhanoths become docile, refusing to attack any creature. It becomes unable to teleport or use its vanished legendary action until its tentacles regrow 1 to 6 days later. So that's going to alter the stat block. It's going to weaken it, right, in combat. And then false desires. If a creature is in possession of the tongue from a fiend, the creature is aware of when the Balhanoth is using its sense desires regional effect to probe their mind. That creature can attempt a DC 18 insight check. On a success, the creature can sense what the Balhanoth is searching for and convey false desires to it. So 2 very interesting interactions with existing stat block stuff for the Balhanoth. And then of course, if you get into ones that have languages, I'm not sure, I guess the Darrow might be one. They could have some, social weaknesses as well, where it comes it comes around whenever you're trying to interact with it. You might notice this social weakness or be able to exploit it. And so that's really cool. But love the artwork and layout as usual, just like the first book. So this would be really fun, I think, to have in print as well, because then you can flip through and really enjoy the feel of this book. And not a lot of books get to be print on demand, so on DM's Guild. So when they are, if you like print books, you want to take advantage of that. So look for it in the video description links under Monster Weaknesses of the Multiverse and give it a click. Next, we have the Raven Queen's Fever Dream from Rodarin Press. It's $3.95 for 65 pages, and it's a gothic horror one-shot for parties eager to test their limits against the ticking clock of death. A band of unfortunate souls is dragged to the hellish domain of dread called 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙬𝙤. The mysterious entity known as the Raven Queen draws them closer for her unimaginable, nefarious purposes. As they explore the eerie gothic city, they discover the truth goes much, much deeper. It includes an adventure for 5th level gaming groups, detailed locations, pre-gen characters with sheets, descriptions, and creatures for a one-shot with high replayability value, especially with Halloween coming up. So very cool that you can reuse this. You don't often see that. So we get to see inside. There's 6 pages, and we got a variety of characters they're going to go up against. It looks like we CR2s and another CR2 there. So maybe able to even reuse some of those stat blocks outside of the book, because it's like gunslinger, henchman, incendiary. So you could definitely use those somewhere else as well. So another plus for the book. So it says, as the characters advance from the Apostle Square, read the following. The narrow street continues amidst tall buildings of stone. Metal gates and bars protect the doors and windows at street level. As they continue, they find a corpse in the gutter being eaten by monstrous creatures. About 100 feet into the street, you first see 2 large, dark silhouettes in the horizon, obscured by fog. As you approach carefully, you see 2 large, monstrous dogs of dark gray fur over sickly exposed flesh. They seem to feast over a corpse on the street gutter. So you're finding out about these beasts, and it says the starved beasts stare at the group with bloodshot eyes, crouching on their back legs before lunging forward toward you. So very dark, which is cool, right? Could be for Halloween. It's in a domain of dread called 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙬𝙢, so it could be really fun, spooky time if you have players that are interested in sort of dark stuff and spooky stuff. So lots of stuff going on, lots of flavor text in here, which I really appreciate. And there's something here called the Lamp of the Departed. As the characters investigate the soul, the supernatural may manifest itself. As you look closely at a fungal formation sprouting from a wall, you see a faint glimmer of blue across the spores. As the tint gets stronger, you notice they do not come from the fungi, but from above. The once empty lanterns are now glowing with a spectral blue light. As they become stronger and stronger, you need to squint. Suddenly, they begin to flare, blinking from existence and reappearing at rapid speeds. You hear faintly from somewhere else in the building a child crying, and all the lamps in this hall explode. Their lights extinguished, and the glass shards fall over the tables as the silence reigns supreme. So yeah, that's a very sensory experience. It works well as flavor text for that section of the adventure. But it just gives you a taste of like how kind of chaotic it might be at times in this adventure and disorienting, which could be really fun if you have the right party that can handle having their senses messed with and stuff. This could be a really fun experience. So I like that. Yeah, so it is in the links below under Raven Queen's Fever Dream. Give it a click. Next, we have Spelljammer Creatures of the Cosmos from Jeremy Hochhalter. It is $9.99 for 93 pages. It says, hello, friend. I see you've decided to leave the world behind and head off into the wondrous wide adventure known as Wild Space. I don't blame you. I've been spending a good amount of my time there lately too. But here, before you go, give this a gander, a little something I put together to help spacefaring travelers from being eaten or upsetting the wrong asteroid or getting stuck in the middle of nowhere while your oxygen runs out. Not that these things happen on a daily basis, mind you, usually. Anyway, back to the book. It's stuffed full of people and critters you may have heard stories about, and a few you probably haven't heard of. Over 80 stat blocks for a DM to throw in the path of adventurers as they explore wild space and the worlds beyond this one that you're leaving. Not to mention the hazards and wonders of space that don't need a stat block, but you should be prepared for them anyway. Watch out for sluck. Nasty stuff. I wish you luck, stranger, and I hope to see you again at this port or some other on a world far away. And it's signed by Krenez, Loot Slayer, Harper, and Storyteller. So fun, flavorful, in-character text for what the book is doing. And so you can see some really nice artwork. But just overall, you're going to get tons and tons of creatures to flesh out wild space. And wild space is vast. I mean, you can go from the realms to Krynn, right? Or to wherever, your homebrew world. And so in between those two vast locations, you could come across so many things. And so it's nice to have things to populate, especially a waypoint, because a waypoint in a place like that is going to be very much a melting pot of all the types of creatures that are traveling through the area. So you can't just have it be, a single type of creature, unless, of course, that's the story, is that they don't allow anybody but elves in there or something, right? So very cool. You get to see 10 of the 93 pages, and you can see already we've got various creatures here, a CR14 and a CR1. Yeah, I like this. Lots of artwork, lots of information to go along with all the creatures. You've got an Ancient Mariner Captain who's a CR6. So there's going to be a variety in here. It doesn't list what the CR range is in the book description, but it does have a creatures by challenge rating at the end of the book. So I'm guessing there's a wide range, which again is important. If you're trying to populate a region, you're going to need all these different options, because your party's going to level, or they're going to riot if they don't get to level at some point, right? So you got to have it. So the first one, 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙤𝙧𝙀, I'm not sure how you say that, but nomadic humanoids, the 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙧 have distinctly owlish features, particularly their head. While similar to that of an owl, the 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙧 beakish nose arcs over a thin mouth full of teeth. Feathers range widely in shade and markings from jet black to snow white, and all shades of gray and browns in between. Skin tones similarly share a wide variety similar to those of humans. Their diminutive stature belies their ability to leap long distances, commonly called rockhoppers by other cultures, due not only to their impressive jumping distances, but also to their nomadic lifestyle, traveling from asteroid to asteroid. Their camps can often be found on large asteroids rich with metals, etc. And then their skiffs are chaotic things loaded down with all manner of fabrics, poles, and gear used for setting up a town-sized encampment as well as for mining. And then you've got several stat blocks, which I also appreciate. So you get the individual one, and then another one that's a Scaver Hunter. So they're slightly different. One's a CR14 and the other one's a CR1. And then they've got something called a Net ability, where they can restrain creatures with that. It's pretty cool. And then you got the Albari. Sailors report seeing Albari soaring in the wide expanse of the astral sea and every wild space known to mortals. These magical creatures travel far and wide to spread their own brand of chaos and foolery. While they often mean no or little harm, their illusions can be dangerous to those who slight the Albari. So, very cool. Little guy here on the branch. So could be fun little monstrosity to encounter. And then you got the Allura. Legends of Wild Space tell of immortal, magnificent humanoids who drive those they visit mad in their beauty and perfection, with their beauty and perfection. So kind of like a siren for space. And then you got Ancient Mariner. Just lots of variety. I'm really liking the variety in here. As I said, it looks like there's going to be a variety of CRs as well. Good artwork, beautiful layout. So a lot to enjoy, sift through, figure out what you can do. You could even map out your whole wild space and place these creatures in various spots so that, if you wanted to do like a hex crawl through wild space, and if you go to this hex, you're going to encounter the ellura or whatever, you could do that. So check it out. It's in the video description. Links under Spelljammer Creatures of the Chaos, or Creatures of the Cosmos, excuse me. Give it a click. Next we have Stars Over Stormwreck. It lets you link Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, which is the new sort of starter kit, and the Light of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤, which is the adventure that comes with the Spelljammer box set, with a short adventure for 4 to 5 characters of 4th level. And it's by Scott Fitzgerald Gray, Michael E. Shea, and Jeff C. Stevens, and it's already a bestseller seller in its first week, so it's sold over 100 copies already. It's 15 pages, and I just really like the focus of this book, that it's meant to bridge those two adventures, because some people are going to buy Dragons of Stormwreck Isle and get into D&D, and then they're going to be like, oh, I'm still new as DM. I really need help going from that to something else. And so since they came out kind of close together, the Spelljammer box set is a natural go-to, right? It's right there. They both came out. They're both new. But how do you bridge that gap between that starter set and going right into your box set for Spelljammer with Light of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤? Well, this is how, using Stars Over Stormwreck. So, that first adventure takes characters from 1st to 4th level, and then Light of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤 begins at 5th. So you really need something to bridge that gap to get you from 4th to 5th, right? So it says, during Stars Over Stormwreck, the characters travel from Stormwreck Isle to the city of 𝙤𝙤𝙗, with the challenges of that journey taking them from 4th to 5th level and preparing them to enter the adventure in Light of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤. The adventure assumes you already own both of those books, of course. Now, you could potentially, as with most adventures, decide to go somewhere else after the end of it. I'm sure this is going to sort of weave in things and prepare you for that Light of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤, but I'm sure crafty DMs can make it go to some other 5th level adventure after this as well. So don't let that stop you, is what I'm trying to say. So it says, as a new group of heroes engages with the challenges and revelations of Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, the discovery of a mysterious relic from another world suggests that even greater adventures lie ahead. After their Stormwreck trials are done, the characters take sea passage to Luskan on the trade ship the Western Wind, hoping to learn more about the mysterious egg that's come into their possession. The trip will not be easy, though, as an attack by sea elf cultists, the threat of mutiny, and the escape of dangerous creatures from the ship's hold all threaten to cut short the party's journey. And all the while, strange storms of shooting stars appear across the night sky like some sort of prophecy, but of coming glory or of imminent destruction. So you get a lot of stat blocks related to this, and then there's an astral sea encounter and generator appendix and a wild space generator appendix. So giving you even more reasons to buy this, because it'll help you flesh out wild space, as we've talked about before. It's wild space is vast. You need help. Even if you're a great home brewer, you're going to want some help. So right away, we're seeing, the Western Wind, the cargo hold, the quarters, the main deck, and then you get the introduction and character creation, changing characters, and all the personal goals that your characters could have, and then lore of the observatory, Stars of 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤. I mean, very well laid out, easy to absorb. I like that they've given you nice, cleanly organized sections just from scrolling through of what we can see so far. So you get to see 11 of those 15 pages. And that's great because, especially if you're new, when books are packed just to the brim and you can barely find a place to rest your eyes, it can be really hard to absorb all the information. So I like that they've cleanly kind of separated it out here to make it easier for you to absorb. So it says, as you play through Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, you'll use the discovery of a mysterious stone as a hook to set up the character's eventual entry into the Stars of 𝘬𝙤 adventure. So Zombie Treasure, a quick option for connecting Dragons of Stormwreck Isle to Light of 𝘬𝙤, involves a simple expansion of one of the scenes of that first adventure. When the characters first arrive on the beach of Stormwreck Isle, wait until a point of your choice during the fight with the zombies in the Drowned Sailor section, then read the following. Where the zombie fight has churned up the beach, a melon-sized white stone has appeared, half concealed by rock and sand. Across its muddled surface, motes of pale light glint like stars. The white stone is actually the egg of a lunar dragon, a rare creature found in the Spelljammer adventures. So that's cool. They're going to have a lunar dragon's egg to deal with. Then another option would be, rather than having the characters discover the mysterious stone at the start of the adventure, you can reveal it when they explore the wreck of Compass Rose in Chapter 3 of the Stormwreck Isle book. It says, where the hull of the ship has been cracked open, the murky waters of the seafloor can be seen beyond. The dim shapes of other wrecks are visible, as is a faint white light shimmering from the seafloor. So they can explore it and potentially find this lunar dragon egg. So very cool. There's even an extra quest here. And it says, if your players are using the pre-generated characters from Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, each character has a specific personal goal underlying their reason for coming to the island. If any character discusses their reason with Elder Rhaenyra, you can use those conversations to foreshadow the character's coming Spelljammer adventure as follows. So, for example, the cleric's dream of death can become more expansive during their sojourn on the island, with Rhaenyra speculating that the hunger of death might portend the threat of some powerful creature or curse. So, very cool. And you got the lore of the observatory, and then Star of 𝘬𝙤, and then origin of the egg. So it talks about how the egg came to be, and then, of course, the journey to Luskan. So it's just giving you everything you need to bridge that gap, which I love, and I love how carefully this has been written, so that whether you're a super experienced DM or just brand new to the whole experience, this is going to be understandable, quickly accessible. You're not going to have to spend hours poring over this. You can read it and go, because they've written it in a way that's very direct and absorbable, which I really, really appreciate. And I love the cover and the other art in the book. I think, for $4.95, you're going to get all this art. You're going to get all this information, and just a great opportunity to bridge the gap. And you may, as I said, there may be another adventure that you want to start at 5th level, and you can somehow weave that lunar egg, make it a different type of dragon's egg, and then you can roll right into some other 5th level adventure. And it's awkward, because the tiers are 1 to 4 and then 5 to whatever, right? But what happens from 4 to 5? How do you get from 4 to 5? Do you just, unless you have an adventure that's going beyond that, you need to end one adventure at basically 5 to start the next one, right? So this is spot on, super helpful, and I would say a must purchase if you want to play those 2 books with your table. So check it out. It's in the links below under Stars Over Stormwreck. Give it a click. All right, now we have The Witch, a spellcasting cast based on medieval witches, and it's by Peter Polak. And it says the witch class is based on medieval witches brewing concoctions, bestowing curses, changing their appearance, or assuming the form of an animal are all within their repertoire. That, coupled with covens which enhance or widen their abilities and mighty spells they can wield, forms up an interesting and unique playstyle. With this book, you can get a brand new class together with 8 new archetypes and 6 new spells. And they use covens for their subclasses. And then they've got different spells here for you. And let's look inside at the 24 pages. So you get sort of an intro, like, what's the flavor and feel of the class. Then you get into how to create one, and then of course you have all the features of the class, and then the covens, which are the subclasses. And as I said, I think they have 8. Yeah, they have 8, which a lot of times when you get a new class, you only get 2, 3, 4, right? So I love when creators of new classes give you a lot of subclasses, because you're competing with classes that have been around a long time that have a ton of subclasses already, right? So you got the spell lists, new spells, and item. There's an item as well, the Wand of Wonder. So you get to see the entirety of the book here, so you can really deep dive into this, see what's going to work for you, see if this, you could have this be at your table as an option for your players. There's a 6th level witch feature. Your witch's curse becomes stronger. You gain the ability to improve your witch's curse with an effect when you cast it. The target of your witch's curse has to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or suffer one of the following effects of your choice. So you can have illness, which the target takes 1d6 necrotic damage at the beginning of its turn for the duration of the curse, or you can have malignus. The targets can't gain temporary hit points or regain hit points by any means for the duration of the curse, etc. There's 5 options, so that could be really fun to layer those onto your curses. You've got animal shape that it looks like you can change into at 10th level. And then at 20th, Supreme Curse. So you mastered the dark art of cursing your enemies. Your witch's curse gains the following ability. When the cursed creature rolls a 20 on the d20, it is counted as a normal attack instead of a critical. So you're taking away their crits, which is a really cool, powerful ability. But then you get into the covens, like the Coven of Kabbalah, and then Chaos, Charms, etc. All kinds of good stuff. And then at the end, you get into new spells like Demonic Transformation, Summon Broom, Fiend Forms, Summon Cauldron, and then the Wand of Wonder, which looks really fun because it has a D100 table associated with it, and 7 charges. So I can only imagine how cool that could be. But yeah, you basically, it says, while holding it, you can use your action to expend one of its charges and choose a target within 120 feet of you. The target can be a creature, object, or a point in space. Roll D100 and consult the table to see what happens, and then there's other information about it, but it says you cast slow, you cast fairy fire, a number of different spells, but the last one is if you targeted a creature, it must make a con saving throw. If you don't target a creature, you become the target and must make the saving throw. If the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the target is instantly petrified. On any other failed save, the target is restrained and begins to turn to stone. While restrained in this way, the target must repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, becoming petrified. So don't want to roll that unless you have a target, but that's okay. It still could be interesting, right? This adds some randomness and excitement to, oh gosh, let me roll an 85, or whatever, right? That can be really fun, and everybody's like, oh no, this happened, whoa, what are we gonna do? She's petrified, that crazy wand or whatever, right? So there's this coven called the Coven of Mending, one of the subclasses. Not all witches despise other creatures. Some not only are likely to live with them, but they are also specialized in medicine and willing to spend their life treating and healing others. Be it casualties on the battlefield, unfortunate workers, or just so sick. Witches of this coven are renowned for their exceptional skills in medicine and ability to bring those recently deceased back to life. So this would be more of a healing, restorative subclass. So you're getting medicine proficiencies, and you can tend to wounded allies with hit dice. And then at 6th level, after seeing and mending countless wounds, the witch has developed a good sight for evaluating body resistance wounds and their seriousness. As a bonus action, you may observe a wounded enemy and roll for a medicine check. You learn information based on the following table. So based on the DC, you can learn how many hit points they have left, or their immunities, or their resistances, etc. So that could be really helpful in a fight. And then at 14th level, you can return a recently dead creature to life that has died within the last 30 minutes. It only comes back to life with 1 hit point, but still, it's back to life, right? So very cool options. I like the variety of subclasses in here, and you can use this for Halloween or just anytime you want to have like a witch in your fantasy setting. So very, very cool. Check it out. It's in the video description links under Witch. Give it a click. So that was our last new release for the week. Before we go, though, let's talk about our discount for next week. It's going to be on the Weirdling class at Splinterverse on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Monday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, this discount for this book will be available automatically. So if you're following us, you should be able to get it and get that click in there so that you can find out all about the Weirdling, which is a brand new class. And again, it's going to be discounted. It's normally $4.95, but it's not going to be that price for you. So you're going to get a brand new class as well as 12 subclasses, one representing each creature type besides the humanoid. And then you get 179 deviant anatomies, which function kind of like Eldritch Invocations for this class, and a balanced capstone to grant your characters legendary actions and legendary resistance. And then there's all sorts of body horror and grotesque mutant flavor throughout this book. So it's highly customizable with high hit point martial being kind of the core of it, which encourages you to invest in your constitution to fuel abilities granted to you by your strange form. So I like the connection to constitution as well. So weirdlings are paradoxically cursed and blessed by their strange forms set fundamentally apart from the races of the mortal world. They cannot claim to be any different than the monsters they fight. Weirdlings' powerful anatomical quirks grant them strange magic. So I think this is just going to be a fun one. We're going to take a deeper dive into it next week, when it's already on sale with our discount, and I look forward to looking at it in detail. But it is already inexpensive because this is 46 pages and it's $4.95, and it's going to be much less than that in our discount. So you want to stay tuned and find out exactly how much you can get off and learn more about this awesome book. So all right, well, that's it for the new releases. Please like the video for the algorithm and leave us a comment. I will respond to all those personally. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share the video out there with your friends so that they can find out about all these great books that they may not know about. There's a lot of people that don't know about Dungeon Masters Guild or DriveThruRPG, and so help them learn that this is also an option to flesh out the adventures at their table. If you click any of the links in the video description to support these awesome creators, which I encourage you to do, you're also going to be helping the channel because we get a small affiliate fee no matter what you purchase after you click one of our links. So we appreciate it when you do your shopping with us. And also, we've got those 6 books that we've released down there in the video description links. We're working on our Dragonlance book, which is going to be a big book for you later this year. But in the meantime, check out our existing work. You can go to splinterverse.com and look through some information on each of them, or click those links in the video description to find out more about books like Swarms of the Multiverse or Feywild Companion or Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets. All of them very different and well-reviewed bestsellers. So I'm excited for you to check them out if you haven't already. And if you are a creator watching this video, I really encourage you to keep going. Don't get down. People are going to criticize your work. They're going to have things to say, but at the end of the day, just think about what are they up to? What are they doing? What are they putting their energy into? Are they creating things, or are they just criticizing others, right? So just let it roll off of you. Have faith in yourself. Focus on your work and your passion, and just tune out all of that noise. You're never going to please everybody, and criticism is just par for the course when you put something out there publicly. So it's fine. You will be fine. And again, I always think about, there's people, especially on the internet, people are brave on the internet. They like to make comments and then run off, right? It's like, well, what are they spending their time on in real life? Are they doing things to help others? Are they creating things to share and bring joy to others? Or are they just running around making comments all over the internet, being a troll, for a lack of a better word? A lot of times they're just being a troll, or they're being misinformed about what they're criticizing. So don't let criticism bring you down. Just have faith in yourself. I believe in you. I think you can do it. And it is so worthwhile to create something, even if just you use it with your friends. It doesn't have to go worldwide, although that's awesome when that happens. It's okay. It doesn't, you don't have to create something that every single person is going to love. There is not one movie that every single person in the world loves, nor will there be a book that every single person in the world loves. So don't worry about it. Just keep on going, and you got this. And for everyone watching, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here on this journey with me every week to discover what new treasures await us on these sites. I think it's an adventure into itself. So until next time, happy adventuring.